Throughout human history, death has worn many terrifying masks. It arrived as the gaunt specter of famine, its hollow eyes reflecting starvation, as the brutal visage of war, leaving devastation in its wake, or as the swollen, blackened face of the plague, a harbinger of mass extinction. But humanity was soon to encounter another, more insidious predator, a silent assassin, veiled in deception, whose true horror lay hidden behind a beguiling facade. This killer did not stalk the blood-soaked battlefields where armies clashed, nor did it fester in the squalid alleyways teeming with vermin and disease. No, this particular killer chose a far more intimate and cherished domain. It was a menace born not of overt conflict or widespread blight, but from the subtle, often unseen vulnerabilities within human nature itself, emerging from spaces we considered safe and sacred. This deceptive killer emerged from the softest silk sheets, from the tenderest whispered confessions under candlelight, and from the most ardent embraces fueled by passion. It was a predator cloaked in the allure of desire, masquerading as the very essence of love. Humanity, in its pursuit of profound connection and physical ecstasy, inadvertently opened the door to a devastating force. The monster's arrival wasn't heralded by screams of terror or the clang of swords, but by the quiet intimacy of shared moments, transforming sanctuaries of affection into unwitting traps. It preyed on the longing for union, twisting the most beautiful human experiences into instruments of its slow, relentless destruction. But beneath this captivating, seductive mask lay a reality of unimaginable devastation. A relentless enemy that would corrode not just the body, but the mind and spirit, leaving a trail of ruin that even the most powerful monarchs could not escape. Kings, once absolute rulers, found themselves trembling before its unseen might, stripped of their dignity and power. Brilliant geniuses whose minds illuminated the world with art and philosophy were driven to madness, their intellects fractured and their legacies stained. Tonight, we dare to reopen a medical file that has haunted humanity for over 5 centuries, a testament to this silent destroyer's enduring terror and its profound, irreversible impact on the course of human destiny. This enigmatic affliction completely reshaped the very fabric of human existence. It altered how people expressed love and sought intimacy, fostering an era of suspicion and fear where trust once blossomed. It influenced the fashion of entire generations, compelling individuals to conceal its outward manifestations beneath elaborate clothing and wigs, fundamentally changing aesthetic norms. More profoundly, this disease quietly redirected the currents of history, influencing political alliances, dynastic successions, and even the fates of nations. No one wanted to claim ownership of this scourge, leading to a strange international blame game, each nation deflecting responsibility for its origins, a testament to its pervasive shame and fear. Indeed, the disease earned a multitude of names, each reflecting a desperate attempt to externalize blame. The French, in a pointed diplomatic gesture, labeled it the Italian disease. The Italians, in turn, cast it back across the Alps, dubbing it the French disease. The Russians, ever eager to deflect, attributed it to the Poles. No nation wished to acknowledge it as its own, effectively rendering it the orphan child of humanity, an unwanted progeny of widespread contagion. Yet, despite this historical game of hot potato, medical science ultimately bestowed upon this devastating condition a name both elegant and deeply evocative: syphilis. A name that now conjures images of both ancient suffering and scientific understanding. Imagine yourself transported to the heart of Europe in the late 15th century, the dawn of the Renaissance. It was a period of unparalleled artistic and intellectual flourishing, the age of Michelangelo's divine forms and Leonardo da Vinci's profound insights, a time when human beauty was elevated to near sacred status. Yet, beneath the opulent silks, the elaborate powdered wigs, and the radiant canvases of this gilded era, a horrifying truth festered. Hidden beneath the facade of aristocratic grandeur, bodies were slowly decaying. The disease often began deceptively, with a small, painless ulcer, a discreet chancre appearing in the most private of places. It was a hushed, almost imperceptible warning, easily dismissed, a sinister prelude to the horror yet to unfold. Imagine a disease that ravaged the body, leaving behind festering sores, a foul odor, and hair falling out in clumps. But the most horrifying mark was when it devoured the nasal cartilage, causing the nose to collapse, leaving a gaping dark hole in the center of the face. This was the unmistakable signature of syphilis, a brand no one could conceal, transforming its victims into living specters, shunned and reviled by society. Yet, syphilis's cruelty extended beyond the physical. It was a patient predator. After a violent eruption, it could lie dormant within the body for a decade, 2, even 3. You might believe yourself cured, marry, have children, grow old. Then, when you least expect it, it returns. This time, it doesn't target the flesh. It assaults the supreme command center, the brain. Neurosyphilis. This relentless adversary transformed the greatest minds into lunatics. It's believed that the deranged arrogance of Nietzsche, the somber, unsettling late-life compositions of Schumann, and the unpredictable, violent rages of Tsar Ivan the Terrible were all manifestations of this tiny spirochete. It would hyperstimulate the brain, pushing it to frenzied activity before utterly destroying it, creating fleeting moments of genius that sparkled amidst the encroaching darkness of madness. Syphilis was more than a medical condition. It was a cultural phenomenon. It prompted 17th-century European men to shave their heads and don elaborate wigs. It drove noble women to apply thick layers of lead-based makeup to conceal facial scars. It irrevocably shaped fashion, art, and even the sexual mores of the West for centuries. So, where did this monster originate? Was it the cruel gift that Christopher Columbus unwittingly brought back from the New World after his discovery of the Americas? Or was it an ancient curse, lurking in the shadows for millennia, simply awaiting its moment to resurface? Let's take a deep breath. Relax your body and join me as we journey back in time to the fateful year of 1495, to the beautiful city of Naples on the shores of the Mediterranean, where the nightmare truly began. Chapter 1, 1495, the Year of the Monster. In the spring of 1495, the stunning port city of Naples, Italy, trembled. King Charles VIII of France, a man whose ambition far exceeded his modest stature, had led a colossal army of 50,000 men across the Alps. The French campaign in Naples was a disaster, not just militarily but medically. Charles VIII's proud army, once 50,000 strong, crumbled, not by enemy swords, but by a mysterious illness. Soldiers deserted en masse, terrified by the affliction, while those who remained were too weak to hold their weapons. Charles was forced to order a full retreat back to France, a decision that would inadvertently unleash one of the most catastrophic epidemics in European history. As the vast army dispersed, mercenaries from across Europe returned to their homelands, Germans to Germany, Swiss to Switzerland, Dutch to the Netherlands. Unbeknownst to them, they carried more than just war spoils. They carried the monstrous Treponema pallidum in their very blood. The retreat of the French army proved to be the spark that ignited a pan-European conflagration. Within months, the French disease, as it quickly became known, ripped through the continent like a wildfire. By 1497, its reach extended to the distant shores of Scotland. A year later, in 1498, Portuguese explorers, venturing across the vast oceans, unwittingly carried the pathogen to India, marking its first documented leap beyond Europe. By 1505, this relentless plague had made its devastating appearance in China and Japan. Never before in human history had a disease demonstrated such an astonishing speed and range of transmission, forever altering the course of global health. As the disease surged, so did the human instinct to assign blame. In a frenzy of panic and denial, no nation wished to claim responsibility for this monstrous affliction. The Italians, believing it brought by the French soldiers to Naples, christened it Morbus Gallicus, the French disease. The French, feeling deeply insulted, retaliated by calling it the Neapolitan disease, or simply the Italian disease. The chain of accusation continued. Russians dubbed it the Polish disease. Poles blamed the German disease, and the Dutch pointed fingers at the Spanish disease. In a particularly striking example of cultural animosity, the Ottoman Turks even referred to it as the Christian disease. The very names assigned to the disease underscored the profound stigma it carried. This was not merely an illness, it was perceived as a divine punishment, a righteous judgment from God upon the sinful and the promiscuous. Unlike leprosy, which often evoked pity, the French disease elicited outright contempt and revulsion. Its cruelest manifestation was the permanent scars it etched upon the faces of its victims, leaving them no refuge from society's judgment. These disfiguring marks served as an inescapable brand, ensuring that those afflicted could not hide from the scorn and moral condemnation of their communities, forever marked as outcasts. Amidst the chaos of accusation and the moral panic, a more profound intellectual curiosity began to emerge among scholars and physicians. A fundamental question loomed large. Where did this virulent plague truly originate? Why was there an astonishing lack of any historical records detailing such a horrifying disease prior to 1495? The timing was particularly perplexing. Why did such a devastating illness suddenly manifest precisely when Europe had just embarked on an era of unprecedented exploration, discovering vast new lands across the great ocean? All eyes of suspicion, slowly but surely, began to turn towards a singular figure, a pivotal moment in history. The focus of this intense scrutiny landed squarely on one man, a celebrated maritime hero, whose epic journey had just concluded. This legendary navigator, whose name would forever be etched in the annals of discovery, had returned from a voyage that irrevocably changed the global landscape. He had sailed across the uncharted Atlantic, bridging two worlds that had remained separate for millennia. His return marked not just the triumph of exploration, but as many began to suspect, also the unwitting gateway for a devastating biological exchange that would profoundly impact millions. The seeds of a global pandemic were perhaps sown in the very wake of his groundbreaking expeditions. Christopher Columbus, a name synonymous with audacious discovery, but did his groundbreaking voyages carry more than just gold and new lands? On March 4, 1493, his legendary ships, the Nina and Pinta, triumphantly docked in Lisbon, laden with astonishing tales and exotic treasures from a world previously unknown. The news spread like wildfire across Europe. A new route to the Indies, a new world, later recognized as the Americas, had been found. Alongside strange plants like tobacco and potatoes, vivid parrots, and even a few indigenous people, a far more sinister passenger may have silently disembarked. According to the compelling Columbian hypothesis, Columbus had unwittingly delivered a deadly gift to the old continent, a virulent new disease, a spirochete, poised to unleash an ancient curse upon its unsuspecting inhabitants. This theory posits that syphilis was not new to the world, but rather indigenous to the New World, where it existed as a milder ailment. For millennia, Native American populations had coexisted with a less aggressive form of the spirochete, their immune systems having adapted to its presence, resulting in only minor symptoms. However, this delicate balance was shattered when Columbus's crew made landfall on Hispaniola, modern-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Here, interactions between the European sailors and indigenous women led to a biological exchange. The unfamiliar bacteria entered the bodies of the Europeans, whose immune systems were utterly unprepared for this novel pathogen. Following a brutal biological rule, when a disease jumps to a new, naive population, it often erupts with its most ferocious virulence. With the returning ships, these newly infected sailors became silent carriers of a potent new threat back to Spain. Many, seeking livelihood, soon joined King Charles VIII's mercenary army. This mobile, international force then marched into Naples in 1495, and from there, the devastating epidemic of syphilis exploded across Europe, leaving its gruesome mark on history. This timeline, return in 1493, outbreak in 1495, offers a compelling and tragically consistent narrative for the Columbian hypothesis. It presents a grim, ironic balance in history. While Europeans brought smallpox and influenza, ravaging Native American populations, the Americas, in turn, unleashed syphilis upon Europe. A deadly biological exchange, a Columbian exchange of diseases that forever altered both the continents and the course of human health. In medieval Europe, any severe skin ailment causing unsightly sores and lesions was often categorized under the broad term of leprosy. Sufferers were condemned to a life of isolation, forced to wear distinctive cloaks, ring bells to warn of their approach, and reside in remote leprosaria. This public ostracization served as a stark reminder of the fear and misunderstanding surrounding contagious diseases. However, a significant historical reevaluation would later suggest that this sweeping diagnosis might have overlooked a crucial truth, concealing a different, more insidious affliction within its wide net of despair and exclusion. The 16th century marked a dramatic turning point. With the sudden and virulent explosion of syphilis across Europe, a disease so devastating it earned the moniker the Great Pox, an intriguing phenomenon occurred. As diagnoses of this new, terrifying affliction surged, the number of individuals identified with leprosy began to plummet with equally startling speed. This inverse relationship posed a profound question for historians and medical scholars. Could it be that countless people previously isolated and condemned as lepers were in fact battling syphilis, its symptoms perhaps less understood or simply misidentified in an era before clear diagnostic distinctions? To unravel this historical riddle, archaeologists embarked on a meticulous quest, turning their shovels to ancient burial sites across England and Italy. Their focus was on remains dating back to a time long before Columbus's fateful voyages, meticulously searching for telltale skeletal markers. They sought out specific bone deformities, the telltale thickening of the shin bones, known as Gare's osteomyelitis, and the distinctive pitted worm-eaten appearance of the skull, or Cary's sicca, both considered characteristic indicators of advanced syphilis. These silent witnesses from the past held the potential to rewrite the narrative of syphilis's origins, challenging long-held assumptions about its arrival in the Old World. The painstaking efforts bore fruit in 2010. Within the hallowed grounds of an ancient monastery in England, scientists unearthed skeletons dating back to the 14th century, long before the supposed introduction of syphilis to Europe. Crucially, these remains exhibited bone lesions strikingly similar to those caused by advanced syphilis, presenting a profound challenge to the prevailing Columbian theory. This discovery forced a critical reevaluation. If evidence of syphilis existed in Europe prior to 1492, how could its sudden, devastating emergence in 1495 be explained? The disease that swept across the continent like a monster seemed to have a hidden, deeper history, prompting new theories about its transformation rather than its initial arrival. The answer, many now believe, lies in the realm of evolution. It's plausible that an ancient form of the syphilis bacterium already existed in Europe, but as a far less aggressive organism. Perhaps it manifested as a mild skin condition, akin to yaws or common warts, spread innocuously through casual skin-to-skin contact, not through sexual transmission. However, by the close of the 15th century, a catalyst emerged. It could have been shifting climate patterns, changes in societal habits like more extensive clothing, or, significantly, the intermingling of this indigenous strain with a newly introduced, more virulent variant from the Americas. This confluence of factors might have triggered a profound mutation, transforming the pathogen. It learned to evade detection by retreating deeper into the body's systems, mastering sexual transmission to ensure its propagation, thereby evolving into the deadly Great Pox we recognize from history. Regardless of its exact lineage, whether it was a virulent new strain from the jungles of the Americas or a horrifying mutation from the leprosaria of Europe, one truth became undeniable after 1495. Syphilis, now known as the Great Pox, cemented its place as an unwilling yet inseparable companion to Western civilization. It permeated every stratum of society, from the lowest peasant to the highest noble. Paradoxically, it held a particular allure for the wealthy, the powerful, and the talented. Their affluence afforded them the luxury of indulgence and endless opportunities for revelry, creating fertile ground for the disease's spread. To conceal the grotesque facial scars and lesions left by this monstrous affliction, European aristocracy resorted to increasingly elaborate and bizarre fashion trends. Think towering wigs, cosmetic patches, and heavy makeup, all desperate attempts to mask the visible signs of a pervasive, hidden shame. As we examine classical portraits, the enduring images of European royalty intrigue us. Have you ever wondered about King Louis XIV's colossal wigs or the startlingly pale faces of the era's elite? These weren't merely fashion, they were intricate disguises of profound fear. Welcome to Chapter 3, The Fashion of Concealment, Unmasking Noble Ghosts. Gaze upon 17th and 18th century aristocracy. You'll see towering, white perukes, meticulously styled, perched high. Faces plastered with thick, ghastly white powder and delicate fake moles artfully placed. For centuries, these have symbolized luxury and status. Yet, beneath this veneer of opulence lies a chilling truth. This was the uniform of fear, a desperate attempt to conceal the scars of a terrifying disease. The pervasive culprit was syphilis, a devastating plague across Europe. One of its most visible horrors during the secondary stage was extensive hair loss, alopecia, leading to patchy baldness on the scalp, eyebrows, and beards. In a society where abundant hair symbolized masculine vigor and high status, this visible affliction was an unbearable humiliation, branding one with Venus's disease. This public declaration of illness was socially crippling. Enter the peruke, a desperate savior. King Louis XIV, the Sun King, began losing his hair at just 17. To maintain his majestic image, he hired 48 wigmakers for his colossal hairpieces. His cousin, King Charles II of England, quickly adopted the trend. The aristocracy, eager to emulate and conceal their own hair loss, swiftly followed. What began as necessity became high fashion, often hiding raw, festering sores beneath. Beyond hair loss, syphilis wrought havoc on the skin. Its secondary stage often presented widespread rashes, eventually leaving faces disfigured with deep pockmarks and unsightly lesions. To combat this, the aristocracy embraced layers of cosmetic camouflage. The ghostly white powder, a perilous concoction of lead white and arsenic, served as a thick, opaque mask. It effectively concealed the telltale red rashes and pitted scars that marred aristocratic faces. Yet, even this heavy layer wasn't always enough to hide more severe afflictions, open ulcers and persistent sores. For these, another ingenious solution emerged: the beauty patch or mouche. These small, decorative velvet pieces, cut into shapes like stars or hearts, were artfully glued onto the face. Far from whimsical adornments, these patches were meticulously positioned to discreetly cover individual blemishes, ulcers, or severe discoloration. This elaborate, often toxic regimen transformed fashion into a desperate act of concealment. Syphilis, in its insidious grip, transformed the glittering high society of Europe into a grand masquerade. Beneath the dazzling costumes and radiant smiles, a silent decay gnawed at the heart of the continent. But the true tragedy wasn't just the physical disfigurement, it was the unseen devastation within the mind. Neurosyphilis, the harrowing final stage, saw the relentless spirochete bacteria invade the central nervous system. This terrifying progression often led to delusions of grandeur, a state of extreme euphoria and unparalleled creativity, yet simultaneously plunging its victims into the depths of madness and profound depression. Imagine the profound impact. The very fabric of Western art history might have been irrevocably altered had this microscopic invader not wreaked such havoc. Consider Ludwig van Beethoven, a titan of classical music. He tragically lost his hearing at a remarkably young age, a cruel irony for a composer. Many modern physicians now believe he suffered from autosyphilis, a manifestation of the disease that directly attacked his auditory system. This debilitating condition effectively imprisoned him within a world of absolute silence, profoundly shaping his personality. He became known for his fiery temper, his curt demeanor, and a growing paranoia. Yet, it was from within this agonizing, soundless realm that Beethoven conjured some of his most monumental symphonies. These weren't mere compositions. They were the raw, powerful outcries of a soul scarred by affliction, echoing through the ages with unparalleled emotional depth and resilience. Then there was Franz Schubert, the brilliant romantic composer whose life was tragically cut short at just 31. In his final agonizing years, as the full knowledge of his syphilis diagnosis and impending death became clear, Schubert composed with a frenzied, almost desperate intensity. His music from this period is steeped in a profound, haunting sadness, often preoccupied with themes of mortality and farewell. Masterpieces like Death and the Maiden serve as poignant testaments to his inner turmoil. They are the heartfelt laments of a young man, fully aware that he had been handed a death sentence, pouring his very soul into every note. Schubert's short life left behind an extraordinary legacy, a tapestry of melodies woven with the threads of genius and the shadow of his own imminent demise. Perhaps the most famously tragic figure touched by this disease was Friedrich Nietzsche, the monumental philosopher who boldly proclaimed, "God is dead." His descent into madness is a haunting chapter in intellectual history. In 1889, in the bustling city of Turin, a pivotal and devastating event unfolded. Nietzsche witnessed a horse being brutally whipped by its driver. In an overwhelming surge of empathy, and perhaps a breaking of his own psychological barriers, he rushed forward, wrapping his arms around the horse's neck, sobbing uncontrollably. He whispered frenzied apologies to the suffering animal before collapsing onto the cobblestone street. This dramatic incident marked the irreversible moment when Nietzsche's brilliant mind finally, completely, and tragically shattered. Following that harrowing breakdown, Friedrich Nietzsche endured his final 11 years in a vegetative state, a silent, soulless shell of his former self. Contemporary doctors diagnosed his condition as general paralysis of the insane, unequivocally linked to syphilis. It's a profound irony that this philosopher, who dedicated his entire life to the concept of the Übermensch, the Superman transcending human limitations, was ultimately brought down by something so infinitesimally small, a microscopic bacterium. From the gilded, majestic palaces of kings to the humble, often squalid lodgings of struggling artists, syphilis knew no social boundaries, no intellectual immunity. This microscopic killer infiltrated every stratum of European society, leaving a devastating legacy of physical ruin and psychological torment in its wake. Syphilis was unlike any other adversary. It became the dark, formidable muse of Western art, bestowing fleeting moments of exhilaration only to demand a terrible price: eternal madness. Faced with such a brutal and insidious foe, what could humanity do? They fought back, of course. Yet, for nearly 4 centuries, the only weapon at their disposal was a poison arguably more horrifying than the disease itself. This was a battle fought with desperation, where the perceived cure often mirrored the affliction in its devastating impact, leaving scars far beyond the physical. It was a testament to the sheer terror syphilis inspired, pushing people to embrace methods that would today be considered barbaric. We delve into Chapter 4, Fire, Mercury, and Crazed Cures. In the medical circles of Europe during that era, a chilling adage echoed, "One night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury." This stark proverb highlighted the grim reality for those afflicted by what was then known as the Great Pox. A fleeting moment of pleasure, a night spent with the goddess of love, was believed to condemn you to a lifetime under the influence of Mercury, the Roman god synonymous with the element itself. Before the advent of modern antibiotics revolutionized medicine, elemental mercury reigned supreme, heralded as the ultimate, albeit terrifying, cure for syphilis. It was a period where desperate hope clung to a dangerous substance. Why mercury, you might wonder, for such a severe ailment? The logic, though flawed by modern standards, was rooted deeply in the prevailing medical theories of the medieval era. Doctors then firmly believed in the humoral theory, which posited that all diseases stemmed from an imbalance of the body's 4 vital fluids, or humors. They theorized that illness was caused by the accumulation of toxins within the body. When patients ingested or applied mercury, they would experience continuous, excessive salivation, often producing liters of saliva each day. To the medieval physicians, this profuse drooling was a clear and positive sign. The body was actively purging the toxic humors, specifically the poison of syphilis, out of the system. It was a visceral, albeit dangerous manifestation of what they believed to be detoxification. The grim truth, however, was far more brutal. The continuous salivation was not a sign of detoxification, but rather a classic symptom of acute heavy metal poisoning. Patients were subjected to various terrifying methods of mercury administration. Some were given mercury pills to ingest, a direct internal assault on their system. Others had mercury ointments rubbed onto their syphilis lesions, believing topical application would draw out the disease. But perhaps the most horrifying and insidious method was the mercury steam bath. Each approach, while varied in application, delivered the same devastating outcome, pushing the human body to its toxic limits in a desperate, misguided attempt at healing. The perceived cure was in fact accelerating the patient's deterioration, often in ways more agonizing than the original affliction. In 1927, a groundbreaking treatment emerged: malariotherapy. Pioneered by Austrian psychiatrist Julius Wagner-Jauregg, this method was born from a curious observation. He noticed that patients suffering from neurosyphilis, who incidentally developed high fevers from other illnesses, often saw their psychotic symptoms diminish. Wagner-Jauregg discovered that the syphilis spirochete was vulnerable to heat, perishing at temperatures above 40 Fahrenheit, 105.8. The challenge was how to cook the bacteria hidden deep within the brain without harming the patient. His audacious solution: intentionally infect patients with malaria. The recurring malarial fevers would consistently elevate body temperature to 40 for extended periods. After 10 to 12 such fever episodes, quinine would be administered to cure the malaria. Though it sounded barbaric, using one deadly disease to combat another, the results were astounding. Thousands of patients were saved from mental asylums, and this therapy became the sole beacon of hope in the dark landscape of medicine at the time. Yet, this ray of hope did not extend to everyone. Across the ocean, in the supposedly free America, one of the darkest chapters in medical ethics was quietly unfolding. Here, doctors chose neither mercury nor malaria. They chose inaction. They chose to stand by and watch their fellow human beings slowly die, all to satisfy a cold, scientific curiosity. Welcome to Tuskegee, where the Hippocratic Oath was shattered. In 1932, in Macon County, Alabama, an impoverished Black Belt region, African-American sharecroppers toiled in cotton fields, enduring the brutal racial segregation of Jim Crow laws. Against this backdrop, the U.S. Public Health Service launched a study. Its official title sounded scientific and humane: the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. The initial stated goal was to observe the natural progression of syphilis when no cure was available. Penicillin was not yet widely available. In the midst of the Great Depression, a new tragedy began to unfold. In Alabama, health officials initiated what was presented as a public health program for bad blood, a local term encompassing various ailments. They recruited 600 poor, illiterate black men from the region. Among them, 399 were already suffering from syphilis, while 201 healthy individuals served as a control group. To entice these vulnerable men, doctors spun a web of lies. They never mentioned syphilis. Instead, they promised free medical exams, warm meals, and crucially free burial insurance, an unimaginable luxury for people who had never seen a doctor in their lives. What seemed like a divine gift was, in reality, a death warrant. The study was initially designed to last a mere 6 months, a short-term observation of untreated syphilis. However, as the initial period concluded, the researchers, blinded by their insatiable hunger for data, deemed the findings too valuable to cease. They wanted to witness the full, devastating progression of the disease, to observe how syphilis would systematically destroy the human body to its very end. This cold, calculating decision transformed a 6-month study into a horrifying 40-year ordeal. The true atrocity of Tuskegee wasn't simply its inception, but the doctor's callous refusal to bring it to a halt, condemning hundreds to a slow, preventable death for the sake of scientific curiosity. In 1947, a beacon of hope emerged. Penicillin, a groundbreaking antibiotic, became the standard and highly effective treatment for syphilis. Just a few injections were enough to completely eradicate the spiral monster of the spirochete bacteria. The world rejoiced. Public health campaigns were launched with fervor across America, aiming to completely eradicate syphilis from the nation. But in the secluded world of Tuskegee, time seemed to stand still, trapped in a macabre experiment. While the rest of the world embraced the miracle cure, These unsuspecting men were deliberately denied its life-saving power, their suffering prolonged for a twisted scientific pursuit. The ethical decay deepened as researchers actively conspired to prevent these 399 men from accessing the life-saving penicillin. They went to extreme lengths, instructing local doctors to deny treatment to the study participants. Black soldiers undergoing military enlistment medical exams, who might have otherwise been treated for syphilis by the army, were rerouted and blocked from receiving care. The patients continued to receive sham treatments, inert placebos, ineffective tonics, or simple aspirin, deceptively presented as medicine. To further their data collection, the men endured agonizing spinal taps, not for diagnosis or treatment, but merely to extract cerebrospinal fluid, to grimly observe how far the bacteria had ravaged their central nervous systems. Imagine the profound, cold ruthlessness. Well-trained white doctors, clad in their pristine white coats, symbols of healing and compassion, stood by, observing. They watched as these trusting, uneducated black farmers who had sought relief slowly succumbed to a preventable disease. Their eyes bore witness to the insidious spread of syphilitic sores, the terrifying enlargement of hearts, and the agonizing neurological damage that consumed their patients' bodies and minds. For 40 years, the medical establishment, under the guise of scientific inquiry, perpetuated a monumental act of inhumane indifference, allowing disease to run its course without intervention, transforming human lives into mere data points. Medical professionals observed these men slowly succumb to syphilis, witnessing them descend into madness, blindness, and agonizing death. Every detail was meticulously recorded in their notebooks, with the precision of an insect collector. It wasn't until 1972 that the horrific Tuskegee syphilis study was exposed. By then, only 74 participants remained. 28 had died directly from the disease, over 100 from related complications. 40 wives were infected, and 19 children born with congenital syphilis. Tuskegee isn't just a medical crime. It's a permanent scar on the trust of the black community in the U.S. healthcare system. In 1997, President Bill Clinton formally apologized to the survivors, acknowledging the shameful actions of the government. This belated apology, however, couldn't revive the lost lives. It serves as a stark, costly reminder. Science without conscience breeds a monster more terrifying than any disease. Yet, amidst this darkness, a new light dawned. The story of syphilis found its happy ending, thanks to the serendipitous discovery by Alexander Fleming in 1928. He noticed mold contaminating a bacterial culture had killed the surrounding microbes, leading to the birth of penicillin. By the 1940s, mass-produced penicillin, dubbed the magic bullet, eradicated Treponema pallidum, the very microbe that had plagued humanity for centuries, driving kings to madness and geniuses to despair. Syphilis, once a death sentence, was transformed into a simple, curable infection, treatable with an affordable injection. Medical history is rarely a straight line. Syphilis, once dormant, is now resurfacing globally, a testament to how old threats reawaken when vigilance wanes. The spirochete still lurks in shadows of ignorance and complacency, a stark reminder that no triumph over microorganisms is truly eternal. Recalling this disease, we envision scarred Renaissance faces, elaborate wigs masking fear, Nietzsche's tormented gaze, and the anonymous graves of Tuskegee. Syphilis, a mirror to humanity, exposed depravity yet spurred art, incited cruelty yet drove monumental medical advancements. Every historical scar teaches us pleasure demands responsibility, science requires ethics, and we are all equal before illness. Now, let the past recede. You are here, safe and healthy. Cherish your body, each heartbeat, every peaceful breath. Embrace this serenity.